Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Following on from my brother Abdulhaq's very informative and interactive discussion with some brothers recently on what really happened between Luton, SPUBS, Sheikh Rabi' and Abul Hassan, I've been asked to give a narrative and an account on what really happened between Brixton, Luton, SPUBS, Sheikh Rabi' and Abul Hassan. So here it goes, an account from my recollection, and there are documents in support as well, and recordings as well. Once we'd invited Abul Hassan to the UK to take part in our Return to Ilm conference, which was an annual affair where everybody attended, mashallah, tabarakallah, from around the country. We picked Abul Hassan up from the airport and brought him to Brixton. And there was a lot of excitement around the country at him being here because, as Abdulhaq said, because of the statements from the Mashaykh, the ulama, Sheikh al-Albani included, rahimahullah, that he was one of the imams of Ahlul Sunnah at the time. Such an endorsement carried weight for obvious reasons. And we heard about Sheikh Rabi's position with him and other Mashaykh from around the world, particularly Saudi Arabia. So when he came to the office in Brixton, there was a lot of excitement. Trustees, shura, our imams were crammed into the office to meet him for the first time. And as we were sitting with him, we made an agreement among ourselves prior to sitting, that we wouldn't talk about the fitna of what was going on between us, Salafi publications, and the like, because it was, to be honest, it was getting boring. There'd been so many islahs with Salafi publications and other affiliates of theirs, Marada, Jazari, and other brothers. I'll mention names in this recording. Amir Bashir, who was with them, Mahfouz, from whom this incident blew up, Amir Bashir and Mahfouz, when they became responsible or placed in responsibility for the centre in Luton. Abdulhaq didn't mention them by name, but I've got no problem in mentioning names, as everybody knows. They were affiliated to Salafi publications, and they were the ones who went there and got them involved in the whole Luton affair. So before jumping into the Abul Hassan affair further, I remember that thing that took place in Luton because it was a Jummah in Brixton, and we were contacted that a big fitna had blown up in Luton regarding this dispute between the brothers, and some were calling for us to come up there to show support, which we declined because we didn't want to add to any fitna. Anyway, coming back to when Abul Hassan came to Brixton, when we were sitting in the office with him discussing the programme of the conference, we received a phone call. I cannot remember if it was on the masjid phone or one of our mobile numbers, and it was Amir Bashir and Farouk. Now, and on this I cannot remember who it was speaking, but it was one of the two of them. And they insisted on speaking to Abul Hassan. So reluctantly, and it was reluctantly, because we knew or surmised why they would be ringing, we gave the phone to Abul Hassan. He spoke with them, and they requested to see him immediately, and he invited them down. So he could see that there was tension from us as they were coming. We didn't say anything, because unlike others, clouding or shaping a student of knowledge or scholar or sheikh's view without the other side being able to give or represent at the same time was something we didn't want to do. It had been done enough times by others, and we just felt we didn't want to go down the same road and lower ourselves in that way. So they came, they introduced themselves, they associated themselves with Salafi publications, and they produced a letter. And the letter started with words of praise. That was the introduction to the letter, because it was read out. Abul Hassan read it. Some other brother, I think Amir Bashir, read it and translated it. And when the Sheikh asked him and started discussing, Amir Bashir excused himself that his Arabic wasn't very strong. And the Sheikh said that was okay, you should carry on. And yeah, so the words of praise letter was read out from Salafi publications, and it mentioned various mashaykh who had praised them, and then it got to the essence of the letter, which in a nutshell was about a dispute that they had with Luton, with the brothers in Luton. So, and they were requesting arbitration. So Abul Hassan confirmed his agreement to that, and mentioned that to the brothers, Farouk and Amir Bashir. And from my recollection, they left shortly after that. F1. We mentioned immediately that we deliberately didn't raise any of the issues pertaining to the fitna between the Salafis, because we wanted to focus on benefiting from Abul Hassan and focusing on ilm. But he insisted that as a guest, he was prepared and wanted to arbitrate and bring ta'awun, cooperation between the Salafi communities. So he asked to speak to Luton. And from what I recollect, a phone call was made to Abdul Qadir and the brothers in Luton, and he invited them down to come and speak with him. And they duly came, not all in the same day. This was the evening. By this time, this all had taken place on the evening of Abul Hassan landing. So Luton came and presented their case, and then Maktaba Salafiyya and their representatives came and presented their case. And what happened is that aspects of the conference were disrupted due to the Sheikh, Abul Hassan. He was a Sheikh at the time, no longer now. As we know, there's this manhaj that when someone has been disparaged, they no longer have the appellation of Sheikh to them. Not quite sure where that comes from. I'm sure there's some evidence for it. But anyway, Abul Hassan, as he is commonly referred to, I'll stick with that, had arbitration and met the group separately. Now, we said to him when he was sitting with Luton and arranging to sit with Salafi publications that we wanted to have our own sitting then in that case, so that we could raise any grievances that we had against either parties or one of the parties or whatever. But he declined and said, as we were the hosts, he would ask us to honour him in the sense that he saw, after listening to Luton, that our grievances and Luton's grievances were the same, and that we were closer connected as brothers and communities, so that we would form one entire group and Salafi publication would form the other group. And we agreed, because we were very close and continue to be very close with our brothers in Luton, mashallah, tabarakallah. Those arbitration sittings took place. Individuals brought boxes down and produced their evidence and such like. And Salim al-Hilali was involved in these sittings. Dr. Jabali was involved in these sittings. This is the first part of the recording regarding this stage. After they'd listened to everyone, Abul Hassan arranged for a meeting in what remains an area that's allocated in Masjid Ibn Taymiyyah, Brixton, to the sisters. And he wanted the opposing sides, affiliates and those who supported them to come into that room. And so it was quite packed. There were a number of us sitting in that room, because he was going to give his conclusion of his observations, summary and direction. We all gathered, with the exception of Abu Khadija, who had sent a letter or sent a message. I didn't see the letter, but Abul Hassan read it out, that Abu Khadija was travelling to Kuwait at the time and had asked to be excused, and that he would abide by whatever decision Abul Hassan had made. But Abu Hakim was there, Abu Sufyan was there, Murada Jazari was there, Abdul Qadir was there, and us and from Brixton were there as well. And the recording of that sitting is available. I have a copy of it, and I will make it available. And it's a bit grainy, but you can hear Abul Hassan speaking, and you can hear one of the brothers who used to be with us, a graduate from Medina, Brother Faraz from Tooting, translating. So everything was read out, the points that were read out, and the brothers were asked, he asked specific brothers, including myself, to sign to the agreement at the end. Now, rewinding a little bit, when that document was prepared, Abul Hassan and Salim al-Hilali rang Sheikh Rabi' from the office of Brixton. And as they were speaking to Sheikh Rabi', they wanted to fax him what they had written. They faxed it to him for him to read. And the translation that I got, because we were in the office while this was going on, was that Sheikh Rabi' found these points acceptable. He said he would write, and I think Abul Hassan requested, can he confirm his acceptance of them, because it will put the brothers at ease and they will find it more accepting generally. So Sheikh Rabi' confirmed he would do this, and he asked for the fax number of Brixton. But due to a technical glitch, and we had a problem with our phone at the time, we could only send faxes but not receive. So I suggested to give Sheikh Rabi' an alternative number of one of the brothers who ran his family business on Brixton High Road, which was about 2 minutes walk away from the masjid. And the name of the shop at the time was called Force Home Care. So I contacted the brother, asked for his fax number. He gave me the fax number, and I went across there quickly and waited myself for Sheikh Rabi's fax to come through. And the fax came through. And I went straight back with the fax to the office to give to Abul Hassan and Salim al-Hilali, who then continued their conversation with Sheikh Rabi' to say that they'd received the fax. Copies of the fax have since been scanned with the written Arabic agreement that Abul Hassan had put together, and was signed with the signatures as well. That is still with us, even though it's faded by now, but it was copied and scanned, and that is also available with Sheikh Rabi' Hafizahullah's signature and his written endorsement. That's still available. Coming back to the final sitting with Abul Hassan, when he had got representatives of the two sides to sign this document, my signature's on there, and we signed under Sheikh Rabi's signature, because when we saw that he had written and endorsed it, that made us all feel more secure that yes, Sheikh Rabi has endorsed this, and we all signed. And then Abul Hassan asked us, because the conference was at its conclusive stages, to come out to the main area, main musalla of the masjid. He gave a speech talking about how Islah had been made and words to that effect, and he asked members of the respective parties to come and speak conclusively. I was asked to speak, Abu Hajj Abdurrahman was asked to speak, Abu Hakim was asked to speak, Murad al-Jazairi was asked to speak, Abdul Qadir was asked to speak. And if I recall rightly, everyone spoke, and that tape is still available. Some of the brothers who spoke, and I won't mention at this point because you can't see what's in people's hearts, spoke very vaguely. Very vaguely, but what was clear from their very vague general speech was that they were not happy with the outcome. That was clear to us. Anyway, that's how it concluded, and we left it at that. The Arabic agreement and Sheikh Rabi's speech was duly translated by Fraz, and then Dr. Jibali, when he got back to the States, he translated it and provided a tighter translation, but both translations were very close to each other. And from there was expectation to move forward. Expectation by a number of individuals, but there were some of us who felt things weren't going to move forward, because we'd seen many times before that when meetings for Islah had come about, particular sections or particular individuals continually broke those agreements. So that's what happened with that. When our conference had finished, Abul Hassan had been invited to travel up to North England, and we took him, and our brothers from Salafi Publications had invited him, and he was supposed to go, but he declined because of time constraints. That was all. As we were going up north, he couldn't make it, and he asked to be excused, and he went straight up, I think, to Manchester. Brothers took him up to Manchester. That was the last time Abul Hassan visited, first and last time Abul Hassan visited the UK, from what I recall. The rest is history. But for the record, after we had heard what had been going on, Murad al-Jazair turned up at Jeddah airport to see Sheikh Rabi with a box of books and everything, and he was supposedly arrested until an appeal was made to Sheikh Rabi, and he confirmed he was coming down to see him as his student, alleged student, and so forth. And we heard that there was an attempt to undermine and discredit the agreement of Abul Hassan after some of them had signed it. Basically, things started falling apart and going from bad to worse. Now, when we heard that Sheikh Rabi had basically discredited it and said that his signature and his writing was no longer valid, some went so far as to say that he said he never wrote anything, and they tried to deny that, which was that was impossible. And I don't think the Sheikh said that. Brothers were saying that from themselves. What basically happened is that we then said, right, if this is what's happening and this discrediting is taking place, the agreement doesn't hold any water, we are away from it. So much so that weeks after this happened, the khutbah, which was given by our brother Abu Maryam Samir, okay, Kumsan, and he won't like me for putting his name out there like that because he's a very shy individual, mentioned on the mimbar, in as a side point, but a very clear side point, I heard it myself, that this was no longer being adhered to by Brixton because of the dispute arising around it. And from that point in time, no cassettes, nothing from Abul Hassan was seen or heard in the masjid. So, those brothers who keep running around like youngsters who were maybe 5 years old when this Abul Hassan affair took place, talk with such certainty, and as Abdul Qadir said, they haven't verified the truth. And as the Quran says in Surah Al-Hujurat, they haven't verified the truth because they hold particular entities to be thiqat based on their own understandings, which is really unfortunate. It's a joke. It's not even worth going into. So anyway, there was one other occasion where, when the fitna blew up between Abul Hassan and Sheikh Rabi in Saudi Arabia, I remember Sheikh Rabi speaking clearly about the dispute about Abul Hassan in that instance. A phone call was made to Abul Hassan when I was back in Brixton. I can't remember the brother who made it, but some of us were sitting in the room, and he asked me, he said, I heard you were in Medina, why didn't you come and see me? And I said, I didn't know where you were, Sheikh, that was it. And he goes, what are we upon? This is what Abul Hassan asked. He asked, what are we upon? And we said, we are upon the same thing that you found us upon with regards to the manhaj, sunnah. This is what we were talking about in that instance there. And that was the statement. But one of the Somali brothers who was with us, who then decided he became influenced by the other way, as I'd call it, of Maktaba Salafiyah. He tried to take some mileage out of that and out of that telephone conversation, and yet he was the translator, or he was in the room at the time. I can't remember which one he was, but that's all that was said. And it was very clear, because Abul Hassan said, oh, put out my stuff against Sheikh Rabi and defend my arguments and everything like that. And we went quiet and just ended the conversation. And Abul Hassan wanted affirmation from us that we were going to do that, and he did not get it. We ended the conversation. And that was the last time Brixton had any sort of connection or communication, should I say, with Abul Hassan. And I'll end. This is coming up to 20 minutes long. And as Abdul Qadir said, the brothers from Maktaba Salafiyah and their cohorts are so much into this. And this is what their life is centered around. And really, I'm not going to put anything else out after this, because it's not something I've looked at for a long, long time, because it's wasted a lot of people's time. And as I've said, some of the youth who were 5 at the time, or even 4, or were they even born, or 19 now, have got so caught up as though this is the be all and end all.